Welcome, everybody, to the SNN Network Canada virtual event. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and on behalf of SNN Network and our lead sponsor, Small Cap Discoveries, we're really appreciative of you for joining us today. And I'd like to introduce our next panel. This panel is all about gaming and esports, understanding the trends that's going on within gaming. I mean, I think we've all seen the news, we've all seen the headlines, and we just want to learn a little bit more from folks that are in the space on a daily basis, having operations in that right now. So taking us on that journey, our moderator for this panel today is Sean Peasgood. He's the founder and president of Sophic Capital. And with that, Sean, take it away.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for having me and the rest of the panel here today. It should be pretty insightful, hopefully, on what's going on in the gaming and esports space. Today with us, we have first John Dwyer. He's the CEO of Wondr Gaming, an entertainment company that builds partnerships and fosters community within the esports, professional sports, and music industries through loyalty and rewards and NFTs. Wondr Gaming trades on the CSE under the stock symbol WDR. We also have Justin Kenna, the CEO of Gamesquare Esports, an international gaming and esports company seeking to acquire additional assets and entities serving the gaming and esports markets, and more broadly in sports and entertainment. Gamesquare trades on the CSE under the ticker GSQ. And for full disclosure, Gamesquare is a client of Sophic Capital, and we're also shareholders of the company. And finally, we have Thomas Rosander, CEO of Real Luck Group, a leading provider of licensed real money esports and sports betting. The company trades on the Venture Exchange under the symbol LUCK and on the OTC with the symbol LUKEF. Real Luck Group is a client of Sophic Capital, and we're also shareholders in the company. So before we start the panel, I just want to give a quick overview of the gaming and esports industry to put this growth market into perspective for the group. So gaming is the fastest growing form of entertainment globally, with revenues increasing about 9% per year. By 2022, the global video game market is expected to surpass 190 billion in revenues. The esports market was valued at 942 million in 2020 and is projected to reach over 4.7 billion by 2030, a 17.5% CAGR. Gaming is part of most people's life at this point, but it's a way of life for many young consumers. A Newzoo report published in August said that 81% of Gen Zers play video games and play about 7.2 hours on average a week. 77% of millennials play video games and play an average of 6.5 hours a week. So how does this translate into professional gaming and esports? About 20% of 13 to 39-year-olds watch esports. 32% of the same group would prefer to watch esports than traditional sports. All of this points to the fact that the market is established and we have a long runway of growth here in the coming decade. This presents an opportunity for companies and brands to connect to an audience that is growing and will be around for generations to come. However, what many companies and brands are failing to realize is that connecting with esports audiences isn't as easy as throwing a bunch of money at marketing. This generation of people watching esports is a little different. They value community, especially community that gaming and esports brings. They value trust, the trust that comes from this community. So with us today, we have three companies that have recognized this massive opportunity. And I know that I'm looking forward to learning more about their businesses and then having them shed some more light on exactly what's going on in the industry and where we're headed. So first, I'd like to start by having each panelist just give a quick intro of themselves and a high-level investor pitch on the business. Justin from Gamesquare, you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Justin Kenna, CEO of Gamesquare Esports. Thanks very much for having me today. Gamesquare Esports is a global media gaming and esports company. Our whole ethos is connecting global brands to this huge audience, being the gaming and esports communities. We have sort of two main buckets, I guess, in terms of our model as a business. One is our digital media and agency businesses, where we have three entities within that space, high revenue, high margin area, connecting brands directly with audience. And the second is our gaming and esports org, Complexity Gaming, based out of Dallas, Texas. We have 10 teams playing in 9 different games, 10 teams in 9 games. The reason is we have a an all-female Valorant team as well as a male. So through bucket 1 and bucket 2, we have a multitude of ways for brands to connect with audience in this space.
Great. That's thanks for that overview. John, do you want to go next from Wondr Gaming?
Sure. Wondr Gaming is an entertainment company. We see the video game culture as this really important intersection where we can fundamentally understand the preferences of the Gen Z and millennial category. We have 2 key partnerships, one with a company called GameLancer, which has built the largest Gen Z social media network across TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. We exclusively sell their inventory, work with a lot of brands across the board, from Samsung to crypto mining companies, banks, telcos, quick serve restaurants, and soft drink businesses. And we essentially liaise them with these billion-plus views we have across the GameLancer platform, all of which is geolocated to North America, the UK, and Australia, these important regions. And secondarily, we have a very unique partnership where we sell inventory across Reddit. We're in campaign constantly, have normally an average of 7 to 8 campaigns on the go at any one time, a direct advertising model fundamentally at the core of our approach. And we also are the first publicly traded company here in North America with a fully built out white labeled NFT platform. We mint NFTs in-house and sell them across our platform. Our first one launched sports.nft.com, and we're partnered with Shopify such that you can purchase our NFTs with Visa or MasterCard.
Excellent. And finally, Thomas, maybe a little bit on Luckbox, please.
Yes, sure. So yeah, so I'm the CEO of Real Luck Group, and we operate the esports betting site Luckbox. We're a B2C company. We're currently live in 80 countries, and we operate under an international license, and I am based in Isle of Man, and we are going for regulated markets as well as Canada and various in Europe and US as well during next year. We are very bullish about our vision. We're aiming to become the #1 esports betting destination. Sounds ambitious, but it's actually doable in the esports space. And it comes down to providing the best betting offer and the user experience that really suits this new generation of bettors that we're seeing coming. I have myself been in the gaming space for about 20 years, and I've had success both on the video gaming side with Electronic Arts and various sports books and online casinos. And I've been dreaming about combining these two for a very long time. And now I'm happy to find myself right in the middle, because esports betting is really a combination of both online gambling and video gaming. So really looking forward to this, and let's go.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, just some general questions, and I think we can, open this up to everybody. So given that, we actually have 2 companies here that are really focused on esports marketing, but Thomas, you'll be looking to attract those customers and have a marketing strategy as well. Can you all talk about the strategies and some challenges brands are facing as they look to connect with esports audiences? And maybe John, you want to start this one off?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest issue in this space is how to authentically, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot, so I apologize, but how to authentically communicate and interact with the Gen Z and millennial audience, certainly on the Gen Z side. Look, I'm 37 and I feel old in this industry. We just acquired a company called Joybox, which is a creative design studio out of Vancouver. They work with everyone from, they do all the campaigns for the Fat Jewish on Instagram. They do Ashton Kutcher's brand Thorn and beyond. It's a bunch of guys much younger than me or far brighter than me. And we acquired them because they know how to articulate that messaging. So when they're in the room talking to these large non-endemics or endemic brands, they're helping essentially condense this messaging and portray it in a way that the narrative is accurate to what's really going to be, appreciated, understood, and not called out in the market. The gaming audience is an incredibly discernible group of folks. And if you go out into this space and, you know, just try and throw product at them in a non-meaningful way, they're going to let you know they don't like it pretty quick. So that messaging has to be on point, and you have to have a real respect for this audience.
Yeah, that's what we've been reading as well. Justin, you want to comment on this as well?
Yeah, would love to. Agree completely with John. I mean, authenticity does get thrown around a lot. Absolutely. We've just launched the first ever athlete and celebrity division, or an esports org, with 8 top tier athletes. And I think what's really important to that is we've had a lot of inbound from brands that are really interested in connecting with athletes through gaming. It's a really interesting space, but I think what's important with that division is authenticity. And I agree again, John, you know, it does get thrown around a lot, but it is important because the gaming community see through this really quickly, right? If we're just taking famous athletes with big audiences to try and, you know, reach audience and brand, they'll see through that. These 8 athletes are authentic to gaming and content creation. And I think it's really important to make sure that you are authentic to these communities. The other thing I'd say, Sean, when you know talking about brands reaching audience in this space, it is extremely difficult, right? The market's extremely fragmented. Now, if you think about gaming in general, you know, people think about, you know, NBA 2K and Madden and these, you know, first-person shooter games, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, etc. I mean, everybody touches gaming in one way or another, whether you're, you know, a housewife at home playing Candy Crush, or you're a teenager sitting there playing Fortnite all night. People touch gaming in a multitude of ways. This market is extremely fragmented. So in terms of reaching audience, there's a real difficulty there for traditional agencies. I think what's interesting within our agency and media business is similar to John. You know, we have one of our agencies, Cut and Sew, who are, you know, 3 younger guys. They're endemic to the space. They understand the communities. They understand audience. And I think that's really important. We have GCN, who has a media network that actually reaches, through our 75 web properties, reaches 115 million gaming and esports fans every month. And, you know, we can target that, which I think is really important. So not only can we create the bespoke campaigns like a traditional agency, we can actually reach specific targeted audience in this space. I think that's really important because it's really difficult to do.
And I don't know if this relates, Thomas, but maybe you can kind of, you know, take your perspective on this. I know you're building the, you know, the esports betting platform, but, you know, how do you look at this piece of the world as far as building that out in community and engaging with these gamers?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what I hear here. It's I can give some examples from our business, and there's a lot of companies struggling to earn money with esports now after the pandemic and so on, or on esports betting. And the reason for that is that they are still trying to offer a betting product that looks like an old sports betting product to this new generation, and it just doesn't work. They require something completely different. And what I hear here is also that, you know, I totally agree with that. The younger generations, they need a completely different speed of things. It has to be much more engaging. And one example is, like, in traditional sports betting, you bet on who's going to win the tournament or the match, and then you spend the weekend waiting for the result, and then yay. And this new generations, they want that. They have a 7-second patience, you know, so they want to hear it. They want to see the result directly. And what we've been doing now is that we have been really rebuilding our whole platform and everything we have in order to be able to cater for that. So building a much faster and more engaging betting experience that also provides a lot more markets to bet on. So different things you can bet on in the games and so on. And we're launching that now, basically. Another example is when it comes to where our play sources of potential bettors is when, I mean, in Brazil, for instance, you have these massive communities with, you know, millions of members. And they can be about, you know, one game. Let's say it's a Counter-Strike community, And then next to it, you have another Counter-Strike community. So, you would think that you can approach them in the same way, but you can't, because it's about the same game. They like the same things. It's just that there's a completely different language between the two communities about the same thing. And that, of course, creates massive challenges. And you really have to partner with them in a much more intimate way than has been done before. So there are challenges, but at the same time, as you have these challenges, as I was saying, like it also comes with the opportunity. So it is a lot of blue ocean there, but you really have to approach them in the right way.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it sounds like this group is, once you get them, they're quite sticky and they're loyal. So it's just a matter of engaging with them and getting there. As a follow-up, maybe to kind of Justin and John's comment, where do you think brands are today in recognizing this as a legitimate market? I mean, are we in like the first inning? Are we in the fifth inning? Where are we from a brand perspective in recognizing the opportunity here? And maybe Justin, you can go first on that.
Yeah. I think we're in the top of the second. What I'd say is, I was the CFO of FaZe Clan for just on 3 years. FaZe Clan, for those who don't know it, is the largest brand from an org perspective within gaming and esports. Definitely by audience and by most metrics. They came out recently announcing that they're going through a SPAC deal at a $1 billion valuation. When I started at FaZe Clan, we had one major brand deal. They were looking to lock us in on a 3-year deal. At that time, this was a meaningful proportion of revenue to us. And we actually backed ourselves in. We backed the growth of the industry in and did a 12-month deal. And we were able to renew that for 4 times the year after and 10 times the year after that. So in terms of the multiples of dollars being spent from brands in this space, they're increasing rapidly. You're seeing brands renew often and renew for greater amounts. Now there's a multitude of examples at FaZe that I could give around that. One thing I'd say that I think is interesting is around COVID, we saw a lot of mainstream non-endemic brands that hadn't necessarily played in this space that, traditionally their CMOs are spending a lot of money in sponsorships through traditional sports. There was no traditional sports on. So, gaming and esports was highlighted, really through a lot of traditional forms of media, and a lot of dollars were being reallocated from some of these large budgets with the LA Kings and the Lakers and these traditional sporting teams, and they were experimenting in the gaming and esports space. And we found that they are now clients for life, because a lot of this is really starting to understand the real power of this space, speaking to audience. And again, what I'd say is there's more and more brands entering this space every day, but it's not just about the amount of brands entering. The dollar value of deals is increasing year on year. And I'd say it's very early days, but we're starting to see not just endemic brands increasing, it's not endemic. And this space is only going north from a brand perspective, for sure.
Yep. Okay. That's, makes sense based on where this market's going from the projections. So John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I would agree in terms of, 2 years ago, we would describe this industry, I think, as largely misunderstood. And I think now we're kind of graduating to this phase. I'd say second inning is pretty accurate. I think where wins and losses reside is something that's becoming clearer to the people that are inside of the industry in terms of where monetization lies and where you're actually going to generate some meaningful EBITDA, which I don't think anybody has done in a significant way yet. There are a lot of different approaches we've seen. But I think at the end of the day, what all the brands are looking for, and I can say this on firsthand experience, both at Wondr and previously in my experience as senior VP and head of sales and partnerships at Enthusiast Gaming, is data. Do you understand your audience, and can you show beyond just geolocating and basic sets of data such as gender, but can you create a pixel data predicated profile on each one of your followers and be able to articulate in a very meaningful way what those preferences are. So, you know, if MGM has a new movie coming out in next quarter, and they want it targeted towards females between the ages of 16 and 22, and they want it geolocated to the Southwest United States, and they want to see 120 million, you know, meaningful views, what's the click-through rate? What's your conversion rate? You have to be able to provide all that. I think esports companies that aren't looking at that as being the kind of the real leader in what informs their decisions, at some point they're going to realize that's going to happen. I think it's probably inappropriate for me to speculate what FaZe Clan is going to do with all this money at this monstrous valuation, but at some point, you know, they're probably going to acquire an MCN. They're probably going to go down this road of owning more of the operated channel side of the business, because that's where you can show this raw data. And once you start to do that and convert it in conjunction with these partnerships that they have and really integrate a big media play, that's where the rubber hits the road. You saw it with Enthusiast, and if FaZe Clan go that way, watch out, it's going to be huge. So data for me is the future of this industry.
Yeah, I totally agree, John. I think that unfortunately, I think we're in the second inning as well, or maybe early second inning. I think the progressive companies are, you know, starting to really act on this, and we can see Netflix and Apple and everybody going into gaming, and all the sports club are starting their esports team and so on. So it is happening, but there is, you know, looking at all the companies out there, you know, we're very much in the beginning. And I think even the more advanced one, you know, referring to what you just said with data, I think the data they have and what they see is that, okay, they realize that the future audience, this is what they're going to be interested in. Everybody can see it. So they're like, okay, we have to enter it. But I don't think they have the granularity and the capacity to really see much beyond that. Of course, it's going to come. Everybody, I mean, if you start, especially in the business where I am, in iGaming or video gaming in general, like if you have that data platform, you have a huge advantage. And as you said, like to communicate in the right way with this audience, you have to be very, very specific. And that's why we are building our platform on, you know, on data first. We put the data platform there first, and everything comes from that, all the player acquisition, all the personalization in the product and so on. So yeah, I can only agree.
Great. Well, yeah, I think you know, data marketing and acquiring users are you know, the words of the day for almost any business. So you've all talked a little bit about the pandemic, you know, and at least referenced it. So, you know, maybe talk a little bit about how the pandemic has kind of impacted the industry. And I think we all know that, you know, more people went online, more people stayed home, probably more people play games. But how do you see that in the face of, you know, as we start to open up, and what that's done for the industry? And who should start with this one? Maybe Thomas, you can go ahead on this one.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously, as a betting company or an esports betting company, during the pandemic, it gave us a boost, and it gave everybody in the fantasy or in the esports business a boost, because, you know, traditional sports disappeared for a while, which was great. Was great for our numbers. It was great for a lot of companies to raise money and so on. So I think we probably we gained 2 years in a very short period from what would have happened otherwise. I think one of the disadvantages from the you know, the pandemic was horrible, but in terms of business, for us, I think a lot of investors thought that, oh, now it's there to stay. And I think the boost from the pandemic kind of hid this massive growth that we're seeing in esports in general. It's ticking up independently if you have the pandemic or, you know, whatever the markets think of it and so on. Video game is growing, esports is growing, esports betting is growing, and it's kind of unstoppable, because it is this generational shift in how this new generation actually consume their entertainment. And this is something to really keep in mind when you think of it from when you're thinking about the pandemic. The pandemic it had that effect, but it was just a bump if you look at what we are doing in general. And I think that's important to remember. Another thing that's really important to remember is that we're still in the beginning. So all this growth is coming. And when you consider that the generational shift actually means that the betting generation and the video gaming generation and the esports generation that we're seeing is going to be bigger than any, especially when it comes to the betting generation, which is relevant for us. It's going to be the biggest betting audience that the world has ever seen. And that is, of course, super exciting. And when you combine that with the fact that I think 26, according to Newzoo, the disposable income for the Gen Zs and the millennials is actually going to come bigger than it is for the traditional sports bettors. And then we're really going to see this taking off. And then it's going to become real for everyone.
John, I mean, maybe just comment a bit on kind of brands and what they're telling you and what some of your customers are saying regarding, or what you saw in the pandemic and then what you're foreseeing post.
Yeah, I think it really accelerated, especially on the agency side, their want to understand how to really harness these dollars and push more of their budgets towards the gaming space. The theory is, if you can crack off 5% of like an OMD or a Dentsu budget for, a big brand and have that going towards the gaming industry, like that's pretty good, right? So like, how do we increase that? And I think that, the pandemic has done that, because what it fundamentally did is displayed an audience that is incredibly sticky, spending upwards of 4 hours of their time locked into their screen, whether that be console play, we're looking at the aggregate across console play, your cell phone, PC, and beyond. But I think what they're seeing now is the companies that are really pushing the boundaries and going to these agencies and the brands directly and saying, look, there's not like we're going to emerge out of the pandemic and have some viewer retention issues. People are still going to be gaming. They're just going to be doing it in a different way. And while they might not be gaming for 8 hours a day, you're still going to be capturing folks on 3 to 4 hours on the aggregate. And so the other piece that's really important, and this is a main focus of ours, is it's also about capturing them on social media. Because, if you look at the kind of content that is really important, not just to the gaming world, but kind of gaming adjacent, is content related to gaming, found on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and beyond. And so if you can really position these opportunities for curated, high quality video, where you're having brands kind of jump in and live in areas of where content is consumed outside of like direct gameplay, that really expands the opportunity and the size and reach of a brand and a company like ours, or anybody on this panel for that matter, our respective ability, to showcase this audience. So I think that coming out of the pandemic is not going to be an issue of, hey, are people gaming more or less? I think it's just been great for us because it showed agencies that it's not just in gameplay. There's this huge landscape, and in this ecosystem, it's not, it's social and beyond. And so I think it's up to everybody on this panel and in all the companies to just go out and continue to hammer that message home, because a win for one of us at this stage in our industry is a win for everybody, right? We very much at Wondr have a rising tide lifts all boats mentality. We want to see everybody do well, because our industry is so small that in the event that we do see companies kind of falling off, it's not good for anyone, right? And so we really want to push in that direction. And so that's a long-winded way to say I don't think coming out of lockdown or the pandemic things are going to change. In fact, I think things are just going to keep getting better.
Right, which is what kind of the data is suggesting as well. And I see everybody on the panel nodding with everything you're saying. So yeah, Justin, do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with John. I think it's interesting, right? I think there was a pivot. Now, there's no doubt that our industry was one of the winners, I guess, if you can look at it that way, coming out of a pandemic. But I think it's interesting because there was a real pivot, right? There was this real push towards esports orgs and teams and live events and big tournaments, coming out of the Fortnite World Cup in New York, where there's this record amount of prize money and full stadiums. And it was really interesting because you did see some of these orgs that weren't positioned to be content media businesses, that didn't have streamers, playing Fortnite, that they could monetize and connect with brands, that they were just pure orgs. They were actually hit pretty hard because live tournaments stopped. But there was a real pivot, and I think it was really highlighted that the key to the future of this industry is content. And a lot of orgs were able to pivot and really focus on building out these big content creators and streamers, and the real evolution there. So I think it's interesting. I think there was definitely a pivot. I think it was absolutely a positive in the way that the industry was highlighted more through mainstream media and non-endemic brands really taking notice. And I think, as mentioned before, these are now customers for life. So I do think it was a positive. I think coming out of the back end, fingers crossed, as live events and tournaments start to open again, I think it's only positive. We're seeing more and more eyeballs. I think we'll continue to see, depending on the game, we'll continue to see the growth of streamers at home, not just through Twitch, now through multiple platforms, as well as now the growth of live tournaments and events. I mean, going to a live tournament, seeing the passion, all over the world is really incredible. So I think it absolutely a positive. I think we'll continue to see growth out of the back end.
Right. And you've all had, a lot of experience in this space. You've been in this space, a very, very long time. So, how do you look at the market from the perspective of gaming and esports betting, and whether or not that would be recession proof, or how you would think about the ebbs and flows in kind of the economy? What have you seen in the past, and what do you think would happen if we did fall into a recession? Like, how do you think that the industry would fare? And yeah, give us a bit of insight on that. So I don't know who wants to go. If anybody has anything they want to say on that, they can go first.
Sure, I can. I think that's going to be a function of what defines the recession. I think if we're continuing to tend in the direction of, certainly here in Canada, inflation is a significant issue. And so, how does that impact the way that people consume their daily basket of goods, right? Like, how are they spending money? And so for me, you look at it outside of the general esports arena, and more so at why are brands selling the way they do? How are they asking their agencies to kind of go out and spend that budget to get, customers X, Y, and Z. And so that's really what's going to inform in our space anyways, like more towards the entertainment and media side, how recession proof we are. Because if the brands stop selling and the brands stop realizing the utility of all of these eyeballs that we're collectively putting on a platter for them, then that can lead to some significant difficulty. But again, I don't see that happening because, with the ebb and flow of the economy, no matter what direction, bullish or bear it goes, one thing that remains a constant is that people will come back to gaming because it is an incredibly low cost activity. And it can be seen on many different, through many different lenses. I think people outside our industry just think like gaming is a bunch of kids in the basement playing, Call of Duty or whatever, right? But as Justin said earlier, it could be somebody playing Candy Crush on their phone. Like, that is gaming, right? So we're kind of, I think we're all encouraged to be agnostic as to how we diagnose what gaming is and isn't. And then, your fiduciary obligation to shareholders means you generate revenue, not just by selling across the cool games. So there's always an opportunity to find a marketplace. So to that end, I think it is recession proof, but how you fight against that is to understand what's impacting the spending coming out of the agencies and brands. And so if you have, your finger on that pulse and you understand it, you know how to pivot your business to kind of be well situated to service those clients.
Right. Anybody else want to comment on that? Thomas, you want to talk about the actual gambling, or what you would see in that space?
I'll let Thomas jump in on that one. Yeah, I mean, from my end, I'm sick of agreeing with you, John, but but I
I'm
do.
going to pay you guys a compliment on all your deals, by the way, especially the Rock Nation one. That was amazing. So.
Thank you. You keep those coming, I'll keep agreeing. But no, I do. I totally agree with John's comments in terms of being somewhat recession proof. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thomas,
I mean,
sorry.
yeah, no, I agree on that as well. And I think that, people learned during the pandemic that what you do is that you start taking care of your home more because you're stuck there. And now when it's opening up, I think it's much easier for people to keep doing that. And if there's a recession and so on, I think people will, it's very easy for them to fall back. And as you say, go back to this fairly cheap form of entertainment that video gaming or, esports is. And for us and for, the Netflix and so on, it's probably the best business to be in during these times. Speaking about gambling in general, I think that it has proven for a long time now that when people stay home and when the economy is bad, people actually play more. So yeah.
Right. Okay, that's great. Look, I'm going to go into like maybe a couple questions more specific. We're running a little bit short on time here. So maybe John, you mentioned NFTs in your opening remarks, and I know you recently put a press release out. And so my generation, we collected sports cards and things like that. And so maybe just tell us a little bit about what you're going to do in NFTs in the space. And what you're seeing out there, and then if you can, some of the economics for you, your partners or customers would be great.
Sure. Yeah. So we see NFTs as a real utility play. Less so the hey, let's get a Wayne Gretzky rookie card in its physical form, mint it, and sell it as in its digital fashion. We think that the future of NFTs, much like content that's consumed in the gaming world, has to be about a curated experience and one that's kind of endemic to this audience. We've kind of launched slowly with great purpose. Being a publicly traded company here in Canada, none of the auditors, be it M&P, KPMG, EY, et cetera, will allow you to hold crypto on your balance sheet. So we had to find a pretty elegant solution to that in a partnership with Shopify, a custodian by the name of Knox, and our foreign exchange partner in a company called Dwyer out of California, such that we can transact in the space, but still only hold fiat, being USD and Canadian dollars, on our balance sheet. A first asset that we minted was of Damian Warner, who won the gold medal in decathlon for Canada, and then was the closing ceremony flag bearer. The announcement was done in conjunction with him joining the board of CIBC Bank, their charity. That sold for $1,100 USD. On the economics of that, we had a 50-50 revenue share. We've minted a number of NFTs that we didn't host in our own sanctioned auction. But this was our first kind of auction item. We wanted to just do one this year, just to do it nice and slow, keep the auditors happy, keep the exchange happy. We're the first ones publicly to do this, so there's no precedent, there's no rubric that suggests it's going to be stable. And so people are, inherently confused and don't understand the industry. So we've got to just kind of be part of the intelligentsia of like building policy, for lack of a better description, right? So we've kind of really recognized that. We've got a ton of campaigns rolling out in the new year, one of which is with one of the biggest rappers in the United States. We're going to be minting a song with him, which is coming out in 2022, where we're minting one of 50,000. So one song, it's going to be one of 50,000, sold at $3.99. If you purchase this song as an NFT, you then get first right of refusal on lower bowl tickets to one of his 16 concerts this summer. So if you purchase the ticket in the form of an NFT, you now have the song in the form of an NFT. And if you're at the concert, you now have two. And only the folks that have it via their crypto wallet will get a notification in the middle of the show that says, buy this third NFT for price X, and you guys all get to go to a party afterwards with you and the rapper. If you go to all 16 of his shows, you get to win a day with him and a Richard Mille watch. So these are all things that are really cool to the gaming community. He's a big gamer, the rapper himself, and we can do these things over and over again. We've got 27 NHL athletes on our roster, including John Tavares, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're in campaigns with a number of different guys, from Fred VanVleet, Chris Boucher, who we're a big fan of, who is a Rock Nation athlete. We did the deal with Chris when we launched, did the Canada-wide launch with season 3 of Call of Duty. And I said to myself, man, we should do a deal with Rock Nation. And then I look at my daily esport update and I see the guys at GSQ did it. And I was like, man, that's a really good move. So kudos to you guys on that one. That was really bright.
John, I need to connect you with Des Bryant on the NFT
that would be
front.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love it. And
got some really cool things going on. I think you guys should definitely have a conversation.
Yeah, and to that effect, you know, our business model on the NFT side is predicated on a revenue share. So, you know, when it's interesting, we go, so we're launching 3 skins. Our music skin launches on Monday morning with a singer who was on Jimmy Fallon just the other night, which we're super excited about. And from that perspective, whether it's sports, music, or gaming, so, you know, our one that's out now is gaming.wondernft.com. Music is coming out Monday, and then subsequently gaming. So in the event that, you know, the athlete on the Cowboys you mentioned, you know, would be interested in doing a deal, that would be a joint venture between us and Complexity. And so that's kind of the way that we go out and run these deals, where you just do a straight share down the line. The NFT space, in our experience and our opinion, for what that's worth, is not one where you get folks on an exclusive basis. You have to give people the ability to be, you know, to go from platform to platform to platform. It's really about doing curated campaigns. The same way that, you know, a Samsung could advertise with us, they could do something with Complexity, something with Enthusiast, something with Real Luck and beyond, right? They're not siloed individually to a company. We treat NFTs like that as well. And so we think of it as a product offering. We're not an NFT company. We own an NFT minting platform. And so that just becomes just another revenue silo for us, but not a defining feature of the company.
Well, at the next SNN conference, we're going to come back. We're going to do an NFT panel. So, because we could easily do that. Yeah, that was really interesting. And definitely more to dig in there, I think, for everybody and every investor out there. Look, flipping over to games, we're running a little bit out of time here, so we don't have a ton of time, but I want to ask each of you your own question here. So recently, Justin, you made the acquisition of Complexity. I think you're there now. Can you tell us a little bit more about the acquisition, who's involved, and how it positions the company for growth? And then you've talked a little bit about this flywheel effect where, you know, a more established streamer can help emerging streamers. Maybe tie this together for us and explain how this helps the established streamer and just, you know, how Complexity brings all this together for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we acquired Complexity about 5 months ago now. It was an all-stock transaction, majority owned by Jerry Jones, obviously the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the most valued sporting organization in the world. As part of the deal, we were also able to do a commercial agreement between our agency business, GCN, as the agency of record for the Dallas Cowboys, who are building out a blueprint and a strategy for the Cowboys to be a market leader in this space. And what that actually means is, you know, looking at Cowboys Players League that we can play on their main channels, build out their Discord, their YouTube, their Twitch channels, you know, play these Players League, you know, tournaments on the big screen on game day activations, Cowboys Gaming Club, you know, lounges at AT&T Stadium and beyond. So that's super exciting. But in terms of Complexity, we talked about, you know, when we did the financing off the back of the transaction, we talked about how Complexity is a great brand in this space. They've been really focused on esports and on performance and teams, and we'll continue to be a really good steward of that brand. You know, they've built a great race car, and you know, now it's time to put the race car on the track and win some races. And I'm proud of the growth that we've been able to achieve in 5 months. We will continue to add teams in. We added an all-female Valorant team. We've added a Rocket League team. Very close to announcing a new team as well. But we have had a renewed focus on building out our content creation and streaming business. We signed Tim the Tatman, arguably the biggest streamer in the world, if not the biggest, definitely top 5. We've got a number of other announcements on that front to come. We do have a focus on really building out, you know, our streaming and content creation business, and really building audience and being able to monetize eyeballs, right? So I think, you know, if you look at the progress that we've made in the 5 months, you know, we've grown audience by over 100,000 fans across our, you know, main platforms, and only just beginning on that front. We've launched, you know, all athlete gaming division, Complexity Stars, with 8 top tier athletes across the major core sports in the US, building out our content and media business. So, huge amount of growth within a short period of time. Obviously bringing in, world-class shareholders with the Jones and Golf families, and, an obvious tie to the Cowboys. So we're incredibly excited about the growth we've been able to achieve to date, but really well positioned for 2022 and beyond.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, fine. Probably final question here because we're running tight on time. But Thomas, this one's for you. So, you have a lot of experience in building the online gambling platforms. You were early in casino, you were early in poker. Can you compare and contrast, how you see the esports gaming or gambling market today versus when you entered those markets? Some similarities and differences in those platforms, and then your go-to-market strategy, how that may differ. I think you're getting ready to launch your platform live here in the coming months. So just how's that different this time?
Yeah, so I started out in the gambling, online gambling, very early on, and it was running out of Costa Rica with some obscure license, and it was the Wild West more or less. And then during all these years, the iGaming business, the online casinos and so on, it has really evolved, and regulation is a huge part of that. So we have countries are regulating super fast, and soon the whole world is going to be regulated, and it's just very controlled and organized business. I don't think most people don't understand that the regulated online gaming business, it is much more controlled than any financial business in the world. It's the most controlled industry in the world, which makes it really safe and so on. So all that is there. And then if I look on the other side now, in the situation we have now is with esport and esports betting, everybody's trying to adopt the same evolution that has happened in iGaming to esports right now, or esports betting. And that is fantastic, because for me, who built companies successful in this business, I have never seen a bigger opportunity before. So what's happening is that we have maturity on one side. We know how it's done. We know what's going to happen because we've seen it before. And at the same time, we have esports and that growing faster and bigger than anything we've ever seen before. So it's like immature, mature, but controlled, and then opportunity at the same time. And I'm just feeling super blessed to be right where I should be, right in the forefront of this, and just do what I know best. And what we're doing with Luckbox and Real Luck now is the timing is perfect. We are just rebuilt our whole platform, as I mentioned. We're launching it now, and next year is gonna be super exciting.
Right. Well, listen, I think we're out of time here, gentlemen. So thank you very much for participating in the panel. Thanks for SNN for hosting everybody here, and hopefully this was insightful for investors. And I wish you all the best as you look to grow in the space.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.